Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're doing a case from New Zealand on the 54-year-old science teacher Alistair Levy. He was from Palmerston and he taught at the North Boys High School and went missing in Nelson's Kahurangi National Park around Christmas time, and this was 2012. He had set out to complete a route that he had wanted to complete for a long time, and I believe he mentioned to one of his friends who had been on that route with him about 20 years previously that he was now going to finally finish the route that they had to give up on before. So there was quite a bit of determination to make it, but also he had put himself in a bit of a time crunch because he had gone up to, I guess along the route there is this cabin to spend the night and cook and do stuff before you go on to the next part of your route. And there was a couple there who was also hiking, Mr. and Mrs. Driver, and when he had rested enough to have a chat with them, he explained what route he was going to take and how he wanted to be in Christchurch, I believe, on Christmas Eve. And they were like, oh, I don't think we would ever do that route because that is just a very difficult route along the Castle Basin and bluff areas of the park, which apparently would lead them to an area full of crevasses, so places where you could easily slip in and fall. But that did not deter him, and he set off anyway, and last known contact with Alistair was on December 23rd, so that would be the day he left the cabin, when he sent a text saying he had reached the 1875-meter summit of Mt Owen. Since his plan had been to arrive at Christchurch on Christmas Eve, but he had failed to do so, a search was started on Christmas Day. They found that his blue Toyota Estima was left parked at Courthouse Flat near the start of the walking track. The search itself was of course challenging due to rough terrain and a distinct lack of clues. The karst limestone terrain of Mt Owen meant there were numerous potholes, sinkholes and caves beneath the surface, and this is according to Sergeant Steve Savage, who was part of the search. A dog team had searched the area, with the dog handlers saying there were hundreds of holes and that any one of them could easily have had a person down them that would not be seen. Needless to say, he was not found by them either. Now, he had made plenty of plans for after his hike, or tramp, so it seems unlikely that he wanted to disappear. But of course we don't know exactly what happened, because he's just never been found. We couldn't ask him anything. And that is why I was asked to do a reading on this case, and we're going to do that starting off with the Wise Dog Tarot, which is this one. And for any further questions, moving on to the Muse deck, which is this one. And as per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, we are starting with the Seven of Pentacles over here, followed by the Seven of Wands over there, and then the Eight of Cups right next to that. Okay, so this looks a little bit like looking at your decisions, and they're not great, but at the same time you also don't want to back down. And you can't walk away from it either emotionally. So there's like a couple of things going on here, which kind of reminds me of how he had that conversation with those people at that cabin. And they were like, it's probably not a good idea, but he went ahead and did it anyway. And throughout his story beforehand, like I said in the intro, there was already this thing that he had about, oh, he didn't quite make it those 20 years before. So now it's going to have to be it, like this is going to be it. And when he kind of figured out maybe his plan wasn't that great because people were telling him it's probably not a good idea, he felt challenged, but he also did not want to walk away from it either. Or rather, he didn't want to walk away because he felt challenged. Like some people can really dig down when they are challenged on some type of assumption or idea that they have. And he may have also felt like, yeah, well, you wouldn't do it, but that doesn't mean that I can't, like that type of thing. And emotionally, he was never going to turn back. Like, I think that's what these first three cards are talking about. So this looks like this may have been the time that he was actually at the cabin, or even before then, people perhaps already told him, like, I don't know if that's such a great idea. Maybe you want to wait, maybe you want to bring somebody with you, or you sure you want to go alone, like that type of thing. But the fact that we're looking at the Seven of Pentacles as well may also point to him already being on the trail and at that time getting challenged and feeling like he's not going to turn back because that would like show defeat and he wasn't going to let the area best him twice, basically. Then we have the Two of Cups and the Ace of Cups in reverse and the Three of Swords. Okay, so we have a connection with somebody or some type of mindset here, but it has a snake in the grass, so to speak. Like on the one hand, there is connection. You can see these two dogs play fighting. They have their own like named cups next to each other. There's a connection there. And then there is also this bird up here that kind of points towards, at least to me, points towards a certain will to be free and to do what you want. Also, I guess because they are part of a group, I imagine that does this type of thing more often. And then there is this, even though it's a radiant snake, there's like radiant sun things coming off of it. It also appears to be just something that is kind of hidden, maybe also kind of protected. Like there's certainly a camaraderie among people who tramp, so to speak, but also there are things that you know you should or shouldn't do because that's also part of the mindset. Like, you know, that certain areas are dangerous, you should bring this, you should bring that, and they may not have thought to do that or thought about it and actually not done it. Then we have the Ace of Cups in reverse, so maybe we are trying to not think too much about that, think too much about how other people who have a similar love for this type of thing may disapprove of his actions and thoughts and plans. And then we have the Three of Swords. Three is a crowd. Could be that they didn't really want other people to butt into his business, so to speak. Like, okay, yeah, this is it's getting a bit late. Like, we're looking at this, it's getting a bit old as well, looking at the old dog. Like, okay, the time is now. I really don't need a second opinion right now that I'm on the point of no return, so to speak. And thanks, but no thanks, like that. We have the Magician in reverse. We have, this is the Four of Wands, also in reverse. And we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse, okay. So the Magician in reverse shows to a lack of options and things that they can do. Their capabilities are reduced. They may be dreaming about doing the things that they thought they should be able to do. We have the Four of Wands. So that would normally be like a coming together, a celebration, harmony between people, but there is a disharmony here. So maybe he has not felt very good about his own skills and capabilities. Perhaps this is something that is left over from the time that they had to turn back with the friend. So he's like been feeling bad about that and kind of wants to fix it. And now we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse. Five of Pentacles, normally some type of a bankruptcy situation, something that you didn't bring maybe, something that they wish they had or had thought of. Maybe they spent quite a bit of money on this venture and they're kind of regretting that. I don't know. Don't know exactly how his spending was. I imagine it wasn't crazy because I didn't hear anything about that. But he may be missing something. And this is also perhaps one of the reasons why he's not feeling very harmonious or capable in the moment. Like maybe he was right there at that location, like after he sent that message that he was at the summit. And then he's like, oh wait, now how do I do this part? Because I don't have this, I don't have that, and I really, really needed that. Let's just go ahead and try. without it, because we are trying to be practical here with this Queen of Pentacles, always very practical. We have the Nine of Cups in reverse, so we are very unhappy even though we're trying to be as practical as possible. And then we have the Four of Cups, so not having much of a choice. So this looks like a situation where he cannot go back. So this part over here probably did occur at a point of no return location, where maybe he was already halfway through the area with all those holes in the ground or thin areas, and I'm not entirely sure what it looked like. I didn't actually look up an image of the place, but it was apparently very treacherous. And as the people with the dog said, there's like hundreds of holes where people could be down. It could be any of them, and they certainly weren't able to find him. But I think it may have been in a location like that where he discovered that he doesn't have what he actually needs, regrets it, and then he's trying to be as practical as possible, but also very unhappy about it and feeling like he has no choice, like he really cannot go back. The dog is looking at the cups kind of, but he's also like not fully turning back, so he's like, okay, well, I don't care what that is, I'm gonna have to go the other way. There's just no other choice here. So it looks like he encountered some trouble but was too stubborn, or perhaps it was too late to go back. In any case, he went forward as carefully as he could. So let's see what else we can find out. There's one. The Lovers in reverse. Okay, interesting. So we are definitely casting everything aside that perhaps we have once been told. The Lovers being more of a stronger and archetypal version of the Two of Cups right there. So whatever it is that he may have learned from other hikers, whatever cautioning he may have been given against these areas, he may have decided to not listen to that. Maybe purposely trying to switch his mind off to those things so that he wouldn't panic too much or something along those lines. But in any case, he is trying to not continue this connection with whomever or whatever this is. Small stack here, I think we'll take them. Knight of Voices. This is the Knight of Swords in reverse. So he is coming up with plans, possibly talking to himself like, oh, all you need to do is this, all you need to do is that. But the problem with the Knight of Swords is that they tend to be very gung-ho. They are literally flying against the wind. In this case, it's actually a Pegasus as well. Also not flying with much caution, throwing caution to the wind, basically. He may be trying to psych himself up to go ahead and do this part and not worry too much. And oh my god, these people are like exaggerating when they say it's so dangerous and so difficult to get there within a certain amount of time. And I don't know what they're worried about. Like that type of thing. Or you might think that he has found some way to avoid the trouble. We have the Five of Cups in reverse. Okay, so kind of like the Four of Cups over here, we didn't want to consider any other options, and also we're not looking at any other things that we do have left. Maybe there were possibilities, like perhaps there is an area that he could hike towards in order to be safer, but he kind of just ignored that because perhaps it was too far away or something. It would not allow him to do this thing within the amount of time that he'd set for himself or something like that. Like he had options, but he's just ignoring them at this point. So maybe that's what's happening. We have the Hermit in reverse. Yeah, we're not being very careful. We're not really taking time to study our surroundings. We're not turning inward. This is actually a card of somebody walking through the desert. And basically the hermit that goes out into the desert to, I guess, commune with nature. So he is not really checking his surroundings, like intuitively checking the surroundings either. Maybe ignoring warning signs, which seems kind of careless in a way because he had been warned before And now he's also not paying any attention to the signs around him, not stopping to consider alternatives over here, psyching himself up, like that type of thing. I think he was in a particular mindset where he just did not want to burden himself with logic or something, or at least did not want to perhaps become too afraid. So if he were to really like realize the situation that he was in, perhaps he would be too afraid to go forward or backward, and he definitely didn't want to do that. He had kind of made his promise earlier that he was going to do the thing finally, and now he was doing the thing, and now he didn't want to get scared, turn around, and then have to admit defeat a second time. So next card we got, that was kind of on its side, but I'm just turning it upright so you can get a good look at it, is the Muse of Materials, which I think is the King of Pentacles. So we are doing everything we can to try and be as resourceful as possible, and I think this is also with what it is that he's got. And I'm looking at the portal in the background that appears to be showing a setting sun, and I think they mentioned, the people at the cabin, at least during the bit that I read, they were talking about how he didn't appear to have proper clothing for the nighttime. So maybe he was also realizing that perhaps he wasn't quite well dressed enough for the area, and there were all these things that he had to deal with practically to just kind of like hunker down and get the job done, that type of thing. So being even more practical than over here, just trying to keep his head on his shoulders and not get scared and lose the motivation to see this through. Is that one? Okay. Queen of Voices. Okay, so in addition to being as sparing as possible with our resources, we're also trying to be very sharp, just kind of like keeping our wits about us. It is a fairly dark card as well. He may have considered, as sun went down, to not stop and just keep going. I don't know where he was exactly. I do see mountains in the background, so that's interesting as well. Down there at the bottom, you can see some mountains right there, and some crows as well, which reminds me of the expression "as the crow flies." So maybe he was like, okay, well, this is the quickest route. If I go from here to here, I might as well go in this line, and we'll just go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back before anybody notices. Basically, oh, that one flipped itself over from the bottom of the deck. There's actually a few of them. Let's take a look. Page of Cups. All right, so we are maybe also a little bit hopeful, but Page of Cups is normally a little bit of a surprise as well. He may have been surprised at his own resilience at this point, because I see that there is a little scene inside this person's body, which is kind of like the root, and the heart is also glowing. So maybe just finding strength within himself that he was not aware he even had. We have the Three of Wands in reverse, so now we are not able to go anywhere, which is very sudden. We have the Muse of Emotions, that's the King of Cups on its side, and we have the Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords is a lot of worry. So the sun inability to go somewhere, like the dominoes are not going to hit the next stream over here, so the next part of the plan is not going to happen. So he is now suddenly stopped. This could be where if something happened along the trail, this is where it's happening. And then we are panicking with our King of Cups, but we're also trying to stay cool. Like on the one hand, like, oh my God, this is terrible. How do I do? What do I do over here? And on the other hand, stay calm. It's fine. I'm smart. I can figure a way out of this. But also, where there is a lot of concern here with this Nine of Swords, which is like an anxiety type of card. He may be thinking, if I just sleep here, basically, we'll figure it out in the morning. Maybe that wasn't the best place to be sleeping, but I don't know where he was, obviously. But more like, it's dark. It feels like it's dark because we already had that like sunset stuff going on over here, and there was already a sun sitting over there. So this may be kind of in the night that is like, it's dark. I can't see anything right now, or at least not enough in order to figure out what to do next. I'll just go to sleep, and when it's light, I'll be able to see my situation better, and then we'll take a look on how to get out of here, like that type of thing. The priestess, or the high priestess, basically, we're kind of trying to be as smart about this as we can. We're trying to glean some wisdom, I think. It's kind of on its side. I would normally, I guess, turn this upright, so maybe he is trying to be calm and try to figure out his situation, but it's not as good as a situation as he possibly will be hoping. Like maybe he's thinking once it turns light, I can see that maybe the I don't know, if he's down a hole or something, that he might think, oh, I can possibly just kind of climb up by putting my hands and feet against opposite sides. If it's narrow enough, I can maybe do that, or I can maybe do this, like that, trying to see things and trying to see how they could benefit him and his quest to get out of his situation. So what is next? Whoop. Okay. This one made a little arc. Okay, this star. All right, so he may actually be looking at the night sky. He may have used stars to navigate a little bit to try and figure out exactly where he was. Maybe he had an amazing idea all of a sudden. This also kind of feels a little bit like a last hurrah type of star. Like, oh my God, that's the one thing I have to do. And normally I would see this star upright and I would see somebody coming back to the surface, so to speak, like coming back to society where people can see them with their bright lights. But the way the dog is looking at the star, it does kind of point towards them thinking that maybe they have an option. And let's see, High Priestess again. Okay, so now we're trying to figure out how to use this option and trying to figure out even more. Now we're definitely inspired, basically, because now it's definitely upright. So beforehand there was a little bit of doubt, and then he sees his golden opportunity. He's like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I have to be careful, I have to be calm, like that type of thing. Trying to stay calm and collected. Then we have the Queen of Wands. Now the Queen of Wands is somebody who is very actionable, so I feel like he had a motivation and a plan. So at this point he's feeling pretty, I guess, high spirits, not necessarily happy, but at least he feels like he's got something going on, and that's keeping him, his spirits up basically throughout this time. This one, the Hierophant, is somebody who has some type of sway over a specific type of community. Could be religious, could be somebody who has a specific interest, and a lot of people follow them for that. Maybe he's thinking of somebody whom he has listened to in the past, who knows a lot about the area, knows a lot about his hobby, that type of thing. And they're thinking back to this person and feeling inspired, just kind of looking at the fox as well, who has this golden glow about him, like they're feeling the glow of the wise dog over there, and trying to follow their words or their guidance. Three of Pentacles. Okay, so things are not working for him. So possibly this is dawn and he was feeling better about a situation. Also, we're looking at dogs trying to climb over a wall, which is kind of relevant. And maybe things are just not working for him. Like he, for instance, if he is down one of those pits, he's thinking, okay, well, if I do this and that, if I can push myself off of this rock or whatever it is, and he tries that, and then it suddenly like shifts under his foot, and then a section of it falls apart, and then he can't use that section anymore. And then he's like, oh no, I have to change my plan now because this new strategy will not work. But I don't think he's like given up just yet. More like he's trying different things. He still has that inspiration, I think, of the Queen of Wands. Oh, there's one over here. There's two actually. King of Cups. All right, so feelings are definitely going south. We have here the King of Pentacles though. So even though he's not feeling very great right now, he is still motivated to be as practical as possible. We have, I think, another King of Pentacles earlier as well. That was the Muse over there. And so once again, we are trying to stay calm and collected while our emotions are definitely not positive. So he is kind of panicking, or at least feeling really bad. Maybe not panicking, but just kind of angry, upset, frustrated, but still trying to be practical. Like, okay, that thing caved in, but I can do something else. I'm pretty sure I can do something else. Almost like not believing that a situation could beat him, because most people don't think that that would ever happen to them. So that is kind of like what I'm seeing here. Okay, Devil kind of on its side. Interesting card. It's kind of normally like something that you're addicted to. Something that kind of rules you, even though it's not practical. And maybe this is also his belief that he should just be able to do certain things, that he should be able to beat this area, even though it's proving to be much more difficult than perhaps he thought. Also kind of looking at the card as well, like it's a small dog sitting on top of what almost looks like the bodies of other dogs that came before them, and feeling like they are going to be some type of exception to make the rule, like he's going to win against all odds. And even though he is a small dog, he's baring his teeth and he's doing everything that he can in order to secure the stake over there, which in this case would be to win over the area. So he may be trapped in a certain mindset of some type of invincibility that is making him make kind of rash decisions. Like all of the careful resource spending of the King of Pentacles is kind of wasted because of this attitude that is currently going on. Yeah, okay. Strength might be coming up because he is actually quite inspired again, looking at the golden hue currently on a flower. So maybe he's taking some inspiration of people whom he is looking forward to meeting, like he may be thinking about his family, and that's giving him strength to try and do the impossible, like that type of thing. Okay. Page of Cups, another surprise. So maybe this is not great. Maybe he has a certain windfall, but it could also be that the surprise is something negative, which we also saw earlier with the other Page of Cups. So we're being surprised by something. Okay, we have, oh, again, another devil. Wow. There is Queen of Cups in reverse. Okay, so we're feeling very bad now again. And this one is back. So maybe where before he was still baring his teeth against all odds, now I'm guessing the situation is overpowering them. Like they are now caught up in whatever web this is. And the strings, at least he's finding that he has strings attached and he's not the one pulling them. So perhaps he is feeling like he's not in control, and he's also not emotionally in control. You can see the Queen of Emotions is also in reverse. So I feel like he's starting to realize that this thing is bigger than him. Oop, that is a lot. Oop, okay, that's way too much. These are too much to take. This one I will take, but this one I'm going to shovel separately. That one. I guess just those three, okay. This one was first. Let's see, after I correct this a little bit. We have the Five of Pentacles again, okay. whatever material that they didn't have on them earlier. I think that feeling is now doubled because we have again a 5 of materials or a 5 of pentacles, and whatever it is that they're trying to go to or things that they would have liked are out of reach because they're reaching their hand up like, I need that, but they just cannot. And they're also kind of lying down over here, like they are giving up, or at least realizing that they cannot get the things that they really so desperately needed. We have the 2 of inspiration, which is the 2 of wands. So we are trying to make plans, but as you can see, we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and there aren't many plans that can be made. Just kind of like looking at stuff, seeing if there's any options, grasping at straws. That type of thing is happening there. And then we have the 5 of voices, which is the 5 of swords, and I think he is arguing with himself internally. You can also look at the card. The people are looking very pensive. They would have liked the olive branch, so to speak, to make peace with themselves and I guess peace with other people. It could also be that he is thinking of arguments that he may have had with people in the past about this, and maybe also feeling like perhaps they were right and he shouldn't have been as negative towards them, or had not like blown them off or something like that, because now it turns out that they might be right. So there might be that going on. Okay. Nine of Pentacles. Okay, so we are finding something. At least we are happy with what we got regardless, which is interesting. And there's also Judgment. Okay, interesting. Because this is a very happy with myself and what I got type of card. And then we have Judgment right next to that, which kind of reminds me of how when people have hypothermia, just before they go, they suddenly feel really warm and good, like that type of thing, if you know what I mean. So right after this loss over here and feeling like, oh, I should have listened, we have this super happy mood. I'm not very happy to see that. I think that might be where things are taking a very bad turn for the worse. We have the Knight of Inspiration, which is the Knight of Wands in reverse, so we're taking very bad actions. And also the Queen of Wands is also in reverse, so she is also not doing very smart things. So I think that there is the actual last hurrah here, and then we have him doing things that under other normal circumstances he would have never done because they just make no sense. And as you can see, it's purely fueled by some type of inspiration, but not logic or common sense. So I think that this is them doing things that make no sense, but they do to him because he's in this mindset, which is just very unusual for anybody whom is not in a terrible situation. So I'd like to move on to trying to figure out if we're ever going to find him or learn more about his actual fates, because so far it looks as though he got in trouble in that area he said he was going to go through. He may have actually gone down one of those holes. That sudden unable to move with the 3 of wands down there seems to be pointing towards that. And then the rest of it is just him trying to stay calm and stay focused and get things done. But he does not appear to have any way out. But are we ever going to find him? Okay, we have the moon and it's kind of on its side. So this kind of seems like frustration to me. Like the moon normally hides secrets, and when I see it in reverse I tend to see that as secret revealed, but it's on its side, so it's kind of like it's not quite a secret, but we also cannot get to the information. Also looking down, and there's water that this dog is looking at, which strikes me as he is probably in the area that people have tried to search, and in that sense we know where he is, but we don't know where he is, if you know what I mean. So there is that frustration and that kind of semi-hiddenness. The Hanged Man. Okay, so we need to take a look at the situation from a different angle. Drones, maybe? Just something that came to mind. Like beforehand they had dogs on the job, which would make sense because they can pick up on human scents and potentially Decay is a very strong smell. You don't even need dogs for that, but they tried that, and now we literally see this dog hanging upside down on the hanged man. Like, maybe you try something other than dogs. Try something that you hadn't thought about before. And since it's such a vast area, the first thing that came to my mind was drones, but maybe they've already tried that, I don't know. But either way, the hanged man. And then we have the Six of Wands. Okay, so somebody whom is fairly well known may suddenly find themselves in this situation where they might set out to try and help in the search. That's kind of what's coming to mind here. Like, there's people that really admire a certain person, and they somehow, through fates or whatever have it, find themselves in that area or learn of this story where they otherwise may not have known about it, and they're like, hey, why don't I go take a look? Like that, I think, is what's happening here. So we might be looking at or waiting for somebody who fits that type of bill. It doesn't have to be a super well-known person. It can also just be somebody who is kind of like well-known within their circles, like maybe somebody who is a very well-known hiker, maybe the Hierophant that we saw on the card earlier, whom Alistair may have looked up to as well. We now have a lot of motion, a lot of activity, followed by Five of Wands in reverse. So we're kind of fighting against things. Maybe an internal struggle. The Eight of Wands is usually a lot of activity, but it can also be communication. It could be that somebody has an idea and starts talking about it and tries to get the ball rolling, and meanwhile there is a bit of a struggle there. So maybe there are people that aren't super happy about their plan. Maybe they have a very unorthodox method that they want to try, which the Hanged Man, of course, would support. And not everybody's on board with that. It's kind of like a struggle here, but they have the motion, they have the energy, the drive, so to speak, to give it a try. That one. Six of Swords. Okay, so somebody else may need to bring them there. So this may not be somebody whom is familiar with the area, because otherwise they may have gone there themselves. This may also be one of the things that's kind of like preventing them from trying it, or other people are telling him that he shouldn't do it because they're not super familiar with this area. So this may be somebody who's actually not even a hiker, but is just really good at finding lost people, or has a certain way of exploring things and maybe familiar with other types of areas, or have some type of job that has them exploring caves or something, and they feel like they could do some good, but their idea is so unusual that people are like, I don't think you should do that, because if you do that, we might have to kind of look for you as well. Like that thing might be happening here, that type of situation. Okay. We have the Four of Pentacles. Okay, so we don't have the funds for it, and now we are concerned. So maybe we've opened a certain can of worms, we've wanted to try it, but then we can't quite make it go financially, and we're worried about how we're gonna be able to do that. And maybe the initial enthusiasm has already been kind of like lowered, because people are telling them how dangerous the situation is, how they probably shouldn't just go there and do whatever they came up with. Let's try to get a few final cards. So we have somebody who might be willing, but maybe not able. We have the Four of Cups in reverse. Okay, so there aren't really many options here. They may not let go of this idea because it's like something that they figure would help, and if nobody's going to try it, then perhaps he should be the one, or she. And it might also seem like there is no other choice, because if you look at the card carefully, there is like two faces, left and right, and their silhouettes along with the circle up above form the missing fourth cup. Like, they may already be in the position where they should be doing the thing, like the option that they are in will lead them there, and they're just kind of looking at the other three like, yeah, these are not options for me either. So there may be already something there that kind of puts them in the right position for it. They might not like it very much because it is a Cups card, of course. There. Yeah, there isn't enough finances. We already had that issue earlier with the Four of Pentacles, not really being able to balance finances much. We don't have people working with us, but also it is a Three of Pentacles card, so there's also an issue with finances there. You might not be able to find a crew of people that are willing to do the same thing, willing to do the thing with them. That might be an issue. Okay. Ace of Cups on its side. People may not be on board with their plan, whatever it is. So they're not super happy with their plan. They're also not signing up for it. They may not see the same vision that this person has. So they're not, they're just not seeing it. And they're not willing to go along with it. They might think to themselves, like, if I go with you and it goes wrong, and then we'll be there with the guy and not helping anybody, basically. I'm only causing more trouble for more people, so they're not super happy to go along with this. We have the Page of Swords in reverse, so there may be some harsh words spoken. This may actually lead to somebody who might be willing to help out. So I'm thinking that this may be somebody just mentioning something, like maybe this person is on TV at some point, or they have some type of social media, and they're just so super frustrated with people going against them that they just kind of throw a post out there with some harsh words, and that kind of gets them support somehow. So that may actually lead to them doing the thing after all, like going there and trying his idea, which then hopefully will lead to a discovery. And I'm kind of wondering if he'll discover more people. Like, I'm pretty sure that Alistair is not the first person to go down there and not come out. Because people were already kind of concerned, so it's a notorious area, no doubt. So maybe this whole idea that this person has, this other person, may actually end up helping multiple cases. But in any case, he has support there on the end. So hopefully that will lead to the discovery of Alistair Levy's remains, I'm guessing. So it looks as though, quick summary, he decided that he had to do this hike. He felt kind of like obligated. He was going to have to do it. He was going to do it now. There was no other option, even though people were challenging him on it. That probably only really strengthened his resolve. And then he kind of went to the area, realized that perhaps it was a little bit more work than he had initially thought, but also didn't want to take the safe route or go back, because that was also not an option. That ended him in trouble, and then he tried to bravely get himself out of it. That ultimately did not work and led to some type of delusional state where I'm guessing he found his end. And as for, are we going to find him? And it looks like there's going to be somebody who's going to take a look at this whole thing from a very unique perspective that we hadn't seen before. And we'll be trying to get people on board to go ahead and do that, whatever it is that he's got planned. And initially he's going to have a lot of people working against him and saying that it's probably not a good idea, you shouldn't do it, you're only going to end up getting yourself hurt and others with you. But then after a moment of frustration, he actually does find somebody who is willing to give it a try. So hopefully we'll see an attempt sometime in the future. But that is what I'm seeing for Alistair Levy. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps the channel along. If you want to subscribe, that's even better. Very much appreciated. I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.